Okay, hi, and welcome back to an unmitigated disaster hosted by yours truly, Dr. Jared Wahey. Um, yeah, this has been um, a journey of copyright infringement and copyright protection. So thank you, Bioshock. Um, yeah, recording something beyond the PS4. And here's the problem, right? I'm poor and technologically illiterate. Um, but that is a great idea, and you know what? I will do some investigation and shopping. Um, so instead, we're just gonna do some Resident Evil 3. You know what? Resident Evil 3 in Japan, Resident Evil is called Biohazard, right? So, like, we can still think about bodies and genders and the powers, and it will be a thing. It will now need a slightly different content warning. We are doing a zombie shooter, so that's slightly different. Um, yeah, man, and I had an entire like low-key syllabus thing planned for Bioshock. I don't have that here, so we're just gonna hang out for an hour, think about video games, aesthetics, genders, and communicable disease, and see what shakes out there. So let's go ahead and start. Uh, we're gonna do a new game. All right. I will say, a big fan of Capcom remaking these. Crucial to my childhood, and then it is lovely to have that sort of updated with better mechanics, graphics. And I'm going to stop talking as you enjoy this lovely cutscene.
This pandemic has spread faster than any disease in modern history.
This pandemic has spread faster than any disease in modern history. Welcome to the stream.
Are bracing for more rioting tonight.
He was knocked unconscious. He had some
Citywide emergency has been declared.
The CDC has quarantined the lower Midwestern region of the U.S.
And we're thinking about some quarantine. So again, anytime in the chat, jump in if you want to sort of contribute to
the core values that create
the discussion about the politics of Resident Evil 3.
It's this foundation that will continue to build.
I mean, it does feel too soon, right, Salter? It's very on the nose today. So, again, if you've taken my core literature class or you were interested in my core literature class, I like to use Resident Evil and sort of zombie narratives to think about post-apocalyptic fiction, the way that we organize bodies and lives, and the way that sort of video games as a different platform can engage the body in a particular way. So again, we're going to be seeing some body horror. We're going to be seeing sort of graphic violence. So if that is not the thing that you signed up for, because that's not the thing that I advertised, I completely understand. And I apologize for the technical difficulties. Actually, I really do like this opening, sort of narratively, so I don't have control yet. This is all still cutscene-y. But you start in this first-person perspective in this apartment, and now I'm able to sort of move around, and it's, as you're going to see, quickly going to change. So I think this sort of frame narrative is interesting because it puts us in a different gameplay mechanic system that much more mirrors Resident Evil 7. Okay, big board. We're investigating things in Raccoon City. I mean, I do think, well, we play as a lady. What I think it is sort of relevant, right? what do we think in terms of, I think we can talk about feminist aesthetics and sort of bodies, because we are sort of, right, like, put into a playable character first as a woman who's bleeding from her face. Yeah, it's a lot. Oh, and suicidality warning just right now. And character design, right? Like in terms of coding and graphics, this is not necessarily... So feminist theory and feminist aesthetics doesn't typically sit well with gaming, right? If we flash back to, like, I don't know, like 2007, the sort of Gamergate sort of crisis that...
It's worse every night. The assumption is, of course, that video games are not for women, ladies, girls, and that any sort of intervention in such a coding and in such a sort of visual coding, it's going to sort of be just pandering, and it's going to be totally there for the social justice warriors, right? The SJW community. But I think this game maybe offers up a different relationship, and maybe one that is less hostile towards women who game. Oh, probably the bathroom? Is that right? Just to double check? Yeah. Yeah, right. That there's something, so it's true to the story, oh man, and that classic Tomb Raider Lara Croft sort of moment is both sort of, right, like, cool, we're giving visibility to female protagonists, but also is it still coded for visual pleasure for men? So I think this was actually a really interesting shift, right, from the first person to now this sort of third person limited. And we are able to see more of just Jill Valentine, and I think maybe we should consider the ways that this game asks us to both sort of identify with Jill as, like, our avatar, but also right, sort of, right, is she coded for... We just did Mulvey in my disability studies class, so what might be the ways that the male gaze is still sort of operating here? Just a sec.
Sorry, I need to find a phone. Aha.
Hello?
Jill, are you okay?
Brad, is that you?
Listen, you gotta get out of there.
What are you talking about?
I don't have time to explain. You gotta get out of there right now.
All right, let me grab my...
And we're starting immediately. I mean, it could... yes, how dare we show shoulders. I would say, right, like, of course, it could be worse, but it's not great. And, of course, the, this initial sort of, right, like, foray into the game is built on sort of, right, the threat of violence against women from a giant hulking dude in a domestic space. So, Menace Maiden is very real. Cleavage is on the table, and I write, like, on one hand, I'm like, it could be worse, but it's also still... It suggests, I think, Dre, the ways that even though you were playing as a woman, it's still sort of invested in a particularly heteromasculinist aesthetic. Man, the jump scares in this game. I think Yeah, Catty K, right? Like the size difference is really sort of aggressive, right? That sort of hulking sort of, right, like coated male body next to our sort of small Angel Valentine who's getting tossed around violently. Yeah, and so Dr. Bazire seems to be raising the idea of the soundscape, right? And I'm talking a lot, but do we feel that the voice actor is sort of performing in terms of sexual codes, right? Like often women in pain in video games are coded to sound erotic. They're intense, right? But are they participating in that same sort of sexist video game device?
Jill? Over here!
Brad,
Oh, hi, Brad.
You okay?
Give the
what
best.
was that thing?
Damned if I know. But right now it's got a hard-on for the only 2 stars left in town. You and me.
In
I'm not
stars
sticking
being special
Just look
agents
around.
dedicated
The longer we
to
wait, the more screwed we are.
like it's an elite police force. Although I will say that like playing this
all
in
happened so
2020
fast.
feels
I don't
better
know.
than playing Resident Evil 2, which
One fucked up thing
is
always
really
leads
in
to
a
another.
police setting.
It's like Arclay on steroids.
I mean, I too would just be making ugly crying noises, and there is a level of, as Joy's pointing to, like a level of cuteness, right? Like she's still put together, right? This isn't awful.
Brad! Here they come!
In here!
There's so many.
How do we feel about the choice not to give the protagonist a weapon in the first hand? How might this be playing with issues of, as I think the chat's pointing to, gender, vulnerability?
Don't think about it. We're gonna make a run for it.
Come on, Jill. We know how this ends.
No, I don't.
Are we still a team?
Always.
Then do me a favor. Don't fuck up like I did. Go!
Brad, no.
Sorry, Brad.
I can just tell you as a player, I'm feeling very helpless, right? Like that we're 15 minutes in and this is the first time that, right? Like I get a gun as a player. Oh man, now you're gonna see how bad at this I am. You know what? We're just gonna go. Nope. And we're walking, and we're walking. It does seem to sort of, right, like, put her in the protection of others, right? That we're relying on Brad, that it seems to be playing into pretty sexist paradigms, right? Of vulnerability. At least all those bullets. Now I have nothing. This is great. This is gonna be a great time for all of us.
Sir, are you alright?
Stay back! Don't come any closer!
Yep, 6 feet. Got it.
Come on. There's a helicopter waiting to take you to safety.
What safety? I'm not going out there!
The parking garage isn't far. I can
The
take
only safe place is in here!
I mean, you know what? That is socially distanced. I mean, I stand a man in a van. Oof.
trapped in a dead-end job. Get it? Because he's dead. I'm done. I'm not done.
Shit.
Son of a... You know what? Because I didn't practice this, right? I haven't played this game since actually like when the pandemic started, back in March. So this is just bad. I mean, yeah, Resident Evil goes off the rails real quick as a franchise. Oh, yeah, Jagarza 24, I think that's a great point, right? And it's in those moments, so where we don't actually get control of the camera. So with that fixed, deliberate camera, it seems to be playing into the optics of, right, like, to be looked at-ness a la Mulvey, right? Yeah, I buy that reading. Oh man, it's the Seattle that the media paints it to be, right?
Damn it!
Oh man.
It's my turn, bitch.
Jill also cannot get a break, right? Like this is just, and also you as player cannot get a break. So I think I'm interested in the relationship between character, Jill, and player, in this case me, in the ways that we are also made to feel just this like constant anxiety and constant sort of vulnerability from an unrelenting, oppressive, jacked, heteromasculinist force, right? Like there might be something useful in that, even if we are thinking about some of the camera moments as... I don't know.
Hey! Fuckface!
Now, I mean, yes, right? Like, please give her the rocket launcher. Although I'm not mad. So if we were thinking about how women are visually coded in this game, what do we do with Capcom boyfriend Carlos? Comes in, hey, fuckface with a rocket launcher. What are the ways that sort of... Yeah, Nicole, I buy that the camera angles are sort of doing that patriarchal viewpoint. And it does seem to suggest a gender disparity, right? Like, she's out here with a pistol, and big man gets big guns.
Hope so.
Oh, Sarah Connor is a very nice reference
survivors here.
Here, where?
My guys have converted some subway cars into a shelter. It's safe.
Look at that hair just for a minute.
Personal space. Okay, I get it. Let's go.
And then, personal space, I get it, let's go. What do we feel about this moment?
Dipshit to close this.
In terms of some of the conversations that we've just been having.
Hey, what do you know about that monster?
It does seem to reproduce the knight in shining armor thing. I buy that.
It knows what it wants and won't stop till it gets it.
We're being very cranky with this game.
No thanks. He's all yours.
Listen, I promise you're in good hands. I'm with the Umbrella Biohazard Countermeasure Service.
Hardcore prepper.
Are you kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? You guys are the ones who caused all of this.
Whoa. What are you talking about? We're just here to help people. What's wrong with Umbrella?
What's wrong with Umbrella? Oh my god. Your company is responsible for infecting everyone.
Yeah. I don't know anything about all that.
Just a friendly reminder,
You don't have
don't
to
trust
me,
corporations.
but I'm going to the shelter. You coming? Come on. It's this way.
Dr. Psi, I agree, right? Like, if we're playing the game, it makes her look overly defensive and sort of, right, like, why wouldn't yeah, it puts the sort of burden on her rather than like the initial moment of just like, actually, strange dudes don't ask.
Hey,
just
Captain.
ask for consent. Ask for consent.
This fine young lady could use our help.
Carlos, you didn't even think to ask fine young lady her name? She is an elite operative of RPD, Special Tactics and Rescue Service. Her name is something Valentine.
It's Jill.
Nice to meet you, Jill.
Woof. Yeah,
I
right.
am
Like
UBCS platoon leader
male
Mikhail
feminist by
Victor.
passive aggressively
My
saying
team
push in
was
space. I
sent
get
here
it.
to rescue
Yeah.
civilians.
Right.
And I mean,
that
right,
going for
Catty
you?
K, the
City
idea of
is
being
completely cut off.
suspicious of others is something that this
Most
game
of the 100,000
is maybe a sort of
civilians
limitation
will wind
of
up
the
dead
infection
or
genre, right?
correction,
That I don't know. I know Dr.
My platoon
Bazillion
has
was
suffered
teaching, I think, a
serious
disaster lit,
losses.
or a sort of
keeping them alive is more than
coronavirus
I
course
can
right
manage.
now. But that
Well, you can
idea
thank your corporate
of
overlords
being
for
skeptical of others maybe allows us
Yes.
to sort of buy
Well, we are
into
doing
a
all we
certain
can.
individualism,
If we can
right?
get
Like
this subway
surviving by
train
pulling
moving,
myself up by my own
can
bootstraps
evacuate
thing,
some
rather than
survivors.
imagining sort of collectivity, solidarity,
need help.
resistance in that way.
My men cannot do this alone.
Yeah, and Nicole, it's the division is real.
All right. I'm in. But I am on their side, not yours.
Oh, hey. It's cool. We all want the same thing.
Thank you, Jill.
All right, Super Cop. Here you go. We can use this to stay in contact.
I know what a radio is.
Yeah, right. Like it
First things
seems
first.
to.
We need to get you geared up. Head up to street level. You'll find supplies there.
It seems to fall into the
All right.
pitfall. It does that thing where, right, like we have reaffirmed sexual difference based on the amount of gear and clothing, right? In ways that feel very limiting. Nope. Okay, I did a test play of BioShock, so I would know where to go and not look like a fool on camera, but now I am looking like a fool
Shit,
here.
Captain. They really took a chunk out of you.
Nothing that I miss.
I mean, there are moments of sort of resistance that feels like this game is aware of, and maybe in these sort of moments, where it's at least aware enough of itself that maybe we could read it sort of meta game, or right, like meta film, that it knows the kind of things that it's participating in. Freak Cinema 1998. So, oh, I understand how women in horror are maybe coded. This traditional Japanese restaurant, Orientalist trash, right? Like, that's sort of there. So I want to read, right, like I know what a radio is generously, but I also, yeah, I buy Blade Runner. I don't know, is it...
Jill, it's me again.
Are there ways that we
Working
can
on it.
still
So what's the
use the
plan?
sort of representational tools of video game history without
And how do I do
necessarily
that?
Let's start by restoring power. I'll navigate you to the
recapitulating
substation once you
its
hit
sort
the
of
main road.
sexist
Copy that.
representation?
Let's do this fast.
Or do we need sort of new forms altogether? And this is a very Laura Mulvey question, right? New forms versus working within particular strategies, idioms, mainstream Hollywood. And we're just going to make some health so that... I'm just going to shoot that? No.
I guess I am. We also have, as you can see, a very limited carrying capacity. What do we make of the mechanic of not just sort of delaying getting us a gun, but also sort of restricting how much we can sort of carry with us? How does the sort of formal feature of inventory management maybe contribute to our arguments about gender and sort of power that we've been making?
We're survivors. We've got to get that train moving.
Ugh, hot damn. Oh no, I can't say anything smart because mostly I am terrified. Yeah, Katie Cat, I think you're right. It does seem to sort of, again, fall into that problem. And as Dr. Salter is pointing to, it seems to reaffirm that women can't sort of carry things, playing into a particular pattern of weakness.
Carlos, I've reached the main avenue. Which way do I go?
See a big transmission tower? That's the substation. You'll have to circle around through an alley to your right to get there.
You mean the alley that's on fire?
Maybe. Surely a tall drink of water like yourself can put out a few flames.
Fuck you.
I mean, what do we make of these sort of what do we make of the Carlos Jill banter? It's not great, right? And certainly as a player, I'm like, can you just like not do that while I'm shooting zombies? It is some weird timing, right? Like, you know, whatever, shoot your shot, but like maybe during the zombie apocalypse isn't the thing. But as KDK is sort of right, showing us, I can, we do have right like a moment of call out. So there is at least some sort of awareness in this game of like speaking back to the trope, but it doesn't sort of right fix the problem of the trope. Oh, I can't have that. Man. Dr. Salter is suggesting that it's like got a little bit of a cowboy connotation, and I think that's real because we live in Texas. How is Resident Evil 3 thinking about right, we're spending a lot of time on sort of femininity. Just to pose the question, what are the ways that this game is also asking us to think about and be attentive to masculinity? Masculinities? Bless Leon. It does feel very stereotypical, right? And we've not met Leon or Chris, but man, Chris Redfield, y'all never play Resident Evil 5 because you were just this roided out white dude shooting people of color in Africa, and it's not a move. What? The living, you know what? Oh no. No. And we're walking, and we're walking. The boulder punch. It's over the top bad. You know what? Should have seen that, was looking at the chat. That is entirely my fault. But now I have a hose. Can she not punch or carry anything? So, like, yeah, Nicole, this is a way that I think this game is interested in thinking about vulnerability, right? Like, I definitely have a gun. Sure. And I have a knife, but the only thing that, mechanically I can really... Oh my god. Dude, okay. That got bloody. The only thing that I can mechanically really do is dodge. And so this game, with limited inventory and limited sort of counter defense measures, really sort of locates vulnerability in this, like, Jill character, which I think as we're gesturing to, and as we're sort of making claims to, that it sort of reproduces a type of misogyny, a type of sexism, right? Is there, I'm going to ask a cranky question, is there a use for, man, I don't even get a grenade. No, here's what we're going to do, because I want a grenade. So I'm going to ask a cranky question. Is there something of use, for instance, if we take the conceit that straight dudes play video games, that video games are for straight dudes, and that this is a way to make straight men feel precarious and vulnerable?
Company's offices.
Is that a useful, or is there something vaguely useful about that?
Nothing.
Or are we just chalking this up to, like, sexist garbage? Thoughts? Ideas? It's a big question, but essentially what I wonder, right, like, if we are thinking about the relationship, rule number 1, indeed, cardio. Yeah, like, I'm never not, I don't feel, oh, that's drugs. Oh, son of a... that in terms of survival mechanics, right, like this, it just takes more energy to do the sort of other things. I'm gonna pause and just read. And it does, right, like this is entirely a survival horror mechanic, right? Like this is the thing that allegedly you've signed up to do, which is feel afraid and vulnerable. And then also, right, like, yeah, so allegedly, and this is a Mulvey argument, the way that the male gaze works partially is the idea of ego and identification. And so this game, in asking you to play as Jill, sort of disrupts that identificatory pattern, and maybe that is actually not appealing for male players. Oh no, I don't. Great flannel, but no. I mean, yeah, men were not happy with Last of Us 2. Straight men. Not to, like, speak in broad strokes, I think we're kind of doing that. Not all men, but also men writ large were very cranky with that. Oh, I have a grenade. Why am I not just, like, grenading people? You know what? I thought the stabbing would be a great idea. It's absolutely not.
man, we're just gonna heal up because I don't want to die on camera. That would be horribly embarrassing. So where does the pleasure maybe sort of come from with this game then? These sort of... Oh, yeah. Dr. Pizzaio, would you care to say more about the conflation of violence and genitals? And you see, this is why in the future I would love to have a host co-stream. I have no idea what the code for that is. So that the future of this stream, hopefully, is to have another faculty member, maybe in the future student, sort of write co-hosts, where we can sort of write like more model a dialogue rather than a monologue, and also sort of advertise the cool stuff that is coming up in the department. So course schedules are going to be released, I think, October 12th, and we're going to have another stream around then. There's just no space for things here. I mean, yeah, right? So there's the way of reading Dracula as a disciplinary tactic, right? In response to sort of women and empowerment, the new woman. You know what? They just gotta stop crawling on the ground and maybe I'll be happy. Oh, interesting. Sorry, I'm catching up on the chat. A Discord could work. The Discord will not allow my co-host to have audio or have visual, but I like that idea. Yeah, there's something about this third-person limited where traditionally we're just sort of posed behind her. Doesn't not give us the the constant looming over her, right? It still feels pretty gross. I have a hose. Where was that burning alley? Son of a... Yeah, and it's coming from the neck. It just feels assaulty. Okay. It is hard concentrating on multiple things at once, is what I will say. This is what I'm learning about myself playing this particular game. Yeah, and I think the fun thing about Resident Evil 2, Nicole, allowed us to see the sort of different patterns between enacting violence on a male body versus a female body. And this game does not give it to us at first. It does feel like all of the zombies are more male presenting, right? And it's hard to think about zombies as having a gender because I don't know what that means. But it the plot is starting out with a hulking male-bodied sort of character chasing down a woman in a domestic space until we're then thrust out on the street where zombies that are presenting male are just constantly lurking and looming in alleys and stuff like that.
Don't look at me like that, all right? I'm not infected. No, wait, please!
And again,
What the fuck?
I ask, is there, if I'm
He was
being,
infected.
so I think
might
you're all
have been
correct,
infected.
and saying wonderfully
Oh,
smart
stars,
things.
this soft.
But just to sort of pivot, if we're being generous,
And
is
what
there
are
something
you,
useful
UBCS,
in
killing
having
your own people?
straight men
He would have turned.
play this type of game?
Where's your sense of self-preservation? Go back to the subway station. We don't need a bleeding heart like
Yeah,
you.
Catty K, I think you're right. And traditionally, it's rooted in issues of trauma, subjugation. Oh, I got a new gun. So I think reading this in terms of assault doesn't not feel real. I mean, yeah, sure, right? Like, there's something also in terms of identification from, as Dr. Salter's pointing to, right? Like, you kind of want to be a Jill Valentine. Yeah, right? Like, strong female protagonist who's slightly still erotically coded, but doesn't feel like... I don't know, that there's something at least useful in aligning power and violence with female-bodiedness. This thing is gonna... I don't... Oh. I mean, that's the dream, right? That, like, can men identify with women on screen and in game in ways that sort of, right, like, might be useful or might be different, right? In ways that sort of, yeah, that might provide other opportunities. Oh, no, I don't want to shoot puppies. Okay, here we are. We're just gonna run. We're not running. This is bad. Bye, Fido. Yeah, Jay Garza, sorry I missed your comment. There's so many things in this one scene that were just, right, like, facepalmy. What do you mean? Do you care to elaborate? With this sort of, right, like, masculinist intervention, I'm just gonna, like, shoot the wounded, etc., etc.? Son of a... Nope. So stressed. So stressed. Also, what I'm hearing is that we should definitely just do a Last of Us stream. Last of Us 2 stream. Sometime in the future. Oh, man. Oh, no. No. Mm-mm. Oh. Yeah, you know what? And let's theorize the death scene. We're just gonna linger on this for a bit, which I feel like is a nice way to close this out. Yeah. Why is it so awful? What are the sort of, yeah, oh man. The death animation is just not great. Yeah, certainly the body positions, right, Nicole? And it's from behind. All of that just felt like, and equating hunger with sex. Yeah, that the sort of cinematic there from behind on top really just sort of puts that thirst for flesh, right? Like, it really literalizes it. Which, is there a way to read that metagamically?
Or is it just low-key sexist, high-key sexist garbage? Everyone in this chat is so brilliant. Yes, yes, yes. I do want to echo that. Oh. Yeah, okay, high-key sexist garbage. I'm entirely, yeah. And ownership for sure, right? That this game, that there's no way to read that death scene without sort of, right, thinking about possessing bodies, hungering for bodies, right? Woof. All right, well, I think this was a successful-ish soft launch because of all of your brilliant insights here. What I value the most is that contribution and is sort of, right, getting to spend time with you, albeit, right, like slightly asynchronously and via the chat. But like thank you so much for joining. Next time we do this, I'm going to test copyright a little more thoroughly. But thank you for playing, and thank you for this wonderful feminist critique of Resident Evil 3, right? Like on the surface, strong lady protagonist doing things. But when we dig a little deeper and think about the sort of rhetorical features, the mechanical features, right? Like you are able to sort of, right, show the embedded, encoded sexism in the actual sort of game design, right? So in some ways, it doesn't matter what avatar you sort of create on screen if the actual sort of fundamental mechanics are doing this type of deep sexist work. The game's not going to be able to get out of that. And I think, right, like a very sort of Mulvey reading. I'm so glad that both Dr. Sorensen and folks in disability studies were working through the gaze and optics this week. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm going to end this stream. Everybody have a great weekend. Tonight there is a Hispanic Heritage Month event, conversation with Las Muralistas. So if you are looking to continue to think about lovely feminist practices and sort of critiques, definitely join that online conversation later tonight. Thank you so much.